See, today's topic is very important because it has got lots of application. And the title of today's lecture, first part is optical theorem. Okay. Now, suppose I have a wall and I throw light on it. Intense light I throw on the wall. What will happen? The wall will get illuminated. Okay. When I am throwing light of high intensity on the wall, what is going to happen? That the wall will get illuminated. Now, if I put a ball over here, then what we are going to observe is also a shadow on the wall. Okay. Therefore, the important point is I had started throwing intense light on the wall. Initially, there was no hindrance, and we observed that the wall gets illuminated. But when I placed a ball or some object, then in between the wall and the source of light, then what we are observing? We are observing that there is shadow on the wall. What this shadow implies? That some of the light, or in general, since light consists of photons, some of the photons have got scattered. Is it not? And therefore, in the forward direction, when I am, this is say the Z direction, I was throwing light on the wall. Initially, this wall was getting illuminated, but when I put an object in between the source of light and the wall, we observe that there is a shadow also on the wall. And this shadow tells us that some of the particles or some of the light has have got scattered. Okay. Now this optical theorem talks about this scattered particle. It talks about the change in the scattering amplitude in the forward direction. Okay. It talks about change in the scattering amplitude in the forward direction. What it is, optical theorem? This is a conservation law which relates diminished amplitude of unscattered beam to flux scattered out of beam. Okay, to the flux scattered out of beam. Okay, we also write it as it relates the forward scattering amplitude to the total scattering cross section, or more precisely, it relates the total scattering cross section with the imaginary part of the forward scattering amplitude. Okay, is it clear? And that is why I told you that I am throwing light on the wall and the wall is getting illuminated. And when I am placing an object in between the wall and the source of light, I am getting a shadow on the wall. And this shadow is telling us that some of the particles have got scattered. Okay, and therefore the amplitude in the forward direction has got diminished. Therefore, this is what I am telling you, that this is a conservation law which relates diminished amplitude of unscattered beam to flux scattered out of beam. Okay, this implies that I am changing the slide. In the quantum theory of scattering, the optical theorem is a consequence of optical theorem is a consequence of the conservation of probability. And basically, it ensures conservation of flux. What is flux? Flux is the number of incident particles per unit area per unit time. Now, those particles are coming, and then you are playing an object before it. Therefore, some of the particles will get scattered, and therefore, some of the particles won't be able to move in the forward direction. Therefore, the amplitude in the forward direction will get diminished. Okay. Now we know that in quantum mechanics we have an important equation which ensures uh, particle conservation or charge conservation or any conservation of flux is nothing but the continuity equation which ensures the conservation of probability. Now here, this will be the probability of particles, and that we are talking about, that the total number of particles which were initially in the beam must be equal to the total number of particles which have got unhindered, unscattered, plus the number of particles which have got scattered. Now, delta dot J plus delta rho by delta T is equal to 0 is nothing but the continuity equation. Now, in quantum mechanics, we know that what is this rho? This rho is psi RT square. What is J? Current density. This is also function of R and T. This is also function of R and T. This is equal to IH cross upon twice mu psi RT delta psi star RT minus psi star RT delta psi RT. Okay. Now, if we talk about a solution which is independent of time, and we know that if the potential is only R dependent, then we get a stationary state solution. Which implies that psi RT is independent of time. And that would imply that delta rho by delta T, this will be equal to 0. And delta rho by delta T, if it is 0, this would imply that divergence of J, this will be equal to 0. Okay? Because divergence of J plus delta rho by delta T, this is equal to 0. Now we integrate this equation. Integrating the above equation over the volume of a sphere of radius r, which is much larger than small r, which is the range of the potential. Okay. Therefore, we are integrating over the volume of a sphere of radius r, and this radius r is much larger than the range of the potential. Then using Gauss's divergence theorem, which is given by, if you recall, volume integral divergence of f dv, this is equal to surface integral f dot n ds. Okay, this is nothing but the Gauss's divergence theorem. Now here, if I apply this Gauss's divergence theorem in this expression, where we are integrating over the volume, I will write it as divergence of J dV. This is equal to the surface integral J dot R ds. Where what is this S? This is the surface of a sphere of radius r centered at origin, where you have placed your potential. And this can be further written as, we are talking about a solid angle d omega, a distance a. This ds is r square d omega. Therefore, we can write this as r square j dot r d omega. This must be equal to 0. Okay. Therefore, basically we are talking about the conservation of particle number. We are talking about that n number of particles are coming, and when you are placing some target material, then among those n particles, a few will get scattered, and therefore the amplitude in the forward direction will be modified. And therefore, we can write the consequence of this as incident plane wave brings in probability, current density in z direction, because we are considering that the beam is falling along the z direction. Some of it gets scattered into various directions, resulting in a decrease of current density behind it, behind target. Behind target means I am talking about theta equal to 0, due to destructive interference of incident plane wave and scattered wave in the forward direction. Okay, this is a very important concept that you can directly relate to the imaginary part of the forward scattering amplitude to the total scattering cross section. And now we are going to see that how the forward scattering amplitude can be related to the imaginary part, to the total scattering cross section. Now you recall that last time I wrote f theta, the scattering amplitude, as the sum of the partial waves 2l plus 1 upon k e to the power I delta L sine delta L PL cosine theta. Now we are talking about the diminished amplitude in the forward direction, and that means I am talking about f theta equal to 0. And as you know, that means this will be PL1, and that is nothing but when cos theta is 1, no matter what is your value of L, this value is 1. Therefore, I can write this as Yes,
Sir,
yes.
sir, we are talking about the word diminished amplitude. What does this diminished mean?
This is what I am telling you. That, see, that is why I gave this example. That you have a source of light, and initially there was no object while this light was traveling towards this wall, and this wall is was getting illuminated. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Or now what I am telling you, that you are putting an object in between the source and the wall. Now when you are putting an object between the source and the wall, then what is happening? Instead of light over here in the forward direction, what you are seeing is a shadow of this ball on the wall. Is it not? And
Yes,
why
sir.
this shadow is coming? This shadow is coming because some of the light particles have got scattered. Is it not? And that
Yes,
means
sir.
those large particles are unable to reach to this place. That is why you are getting a shadow.
Yes, sir.
And that means when I am talking about those particles are unable to reach, that means I am talking about intensity of the particles.
Yes, sir.
What is intensity? Amplitude square.
Yes, sir.
Is it not? Now, when intensity is amplitude square, and I am talking about some of the particles are unable to reach to this point, and that is why you are seeing a dark patch over here, the shadow of this object. This means that intensity at this point of the light particles are low. Okay. Now, if intensity is low, then that means what is low? What has become low? Amplitude square. And that means amplitude in the forward direction has got diminished. It's
Yes, sir.
what it was before this object. What is it was before this object, the intensity over here at this point in the forward direction, because this is the z direction, what the illumination was here before we place this object was much larger than when I placed in an object in the forward direction of the beam, and that is why I am seeing a dark patch over here. Now, our conclusion will be that initially, when there was no object or no scatterer between the light and the wall, then complete wall was getting illuminated. When you are placing an object in the forward direction, you are seeing the shadow, and that means some of the light particles are unable to reach to this point, and this would imply that the intensity has got reduced. And if intensity has got reduced, what is intensity? It is the amplitude square. That means amplitude in the forward direction has got reduced. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
Are you convinced, or is there any question?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Now, if I am talking about f theta equal to 0, this implies that twice L plus 1 by k equal I delta L sine delta L, because this part is 1. Okay. Now, if our I delta L, I can write it as cos delta L plus I sine delta L. and times we have sine delta. And that means I have got an expression where we have cos delta L sine delta L plus I times sine square delta L. That means if I talk about imaginary part of the forward scattering amplitude, then how much it is? Twice L plus 1 upon K. Tell me.
Sin square delta.
Sine square delta. Okay, imaginary part of the forward scattering amplitude is twice L plus 1 upon K sine square delta L. Now recall the yesterday's or what it was, Monday's expression for the total scattering cross section. I wrote total scattering cross section as 4 pi by K square L equal to 0 to infinity 2L plus 1 sine square delta L. And just now we have seen that imaginary part of the scattering amplitude is twice L plus 1 upon K sine square delta L. That means this is nothing but I can write 4 pi by K and
Imaginary f theta.
imaginary part of the forward scattering. And this is what I had told you to start with, that optical theorem relates the imaginary part of the forward scattering amplitude to the total scattering cross section. How much particles have got scattered. Okay. Therefore, this imaginary part of forward scattering amplitude is related to the total scattering cross section. And this is nothing but what we know in literature as optical theorem. Okay? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And the best way to understand the significance of the optical theorem is through this example of light. Okay? Just here we are instead of light, we have what? We have flux of particles. Number of particles coming per unit area per unit time. Here number of photons coming per unit area per unit time. And then here there was an object. Here there is a potential. And then we are saying that how many particles have got diminished. That means if I am making 5 arrows here, I should make 4 arrows here. That means I am just trying to convince you that amplitude in here is not the same as what you have, and the forward amplitude has got diminished, and that has contributed to what? To the total scattering cross. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
But this is an important theorem, and this is often asked in the interviews. Tell the significance of optical theorem. Now, I had promised that I will take a few examples where we can apply partial wave analysis to calculate scattering cross section. I will take 2 examples. One is a hard sphere and another is a square well potential. Now, what does this hard sphere means? That you won't be able to penetrate this sphere. You cannot go inside this sphere. That means the wave function would vanish at the boundaries. Okay, you cannot go inside that, and that means the potential is infinite. For if say a is the radius of the sphere, then potential is infinite for this range up to the radius of the sphere. Therefore what we are considering, consider is scattering by a hard sphere for which the potential is given by Vr is equal to infinity for r less than a, and Vr is 0 for r greater than a, where a is the radius of this spherical potential. Implying that the wave function must vanish at r equal to a, which is because the region r less than a is impenetrable. You cannot go inside that. Okay. Therefore, we shall start with the region r greater than a, where the potential is 0, and recall for r greater than a, the radial part of the Schrodinger equation, which I wrote on the last turn. D square r by dr square plus 2 by r, sorry, 2 by r dr by dr plus k square minus ll plus 1 by r square r. This is the radial part of the Schrodinger equation, which I wrote on the last turn, and k square is nothing but twice mu e by h cross square. Okay, let us call this as equation number 1, but it is you who has to tell me back that what were the equation numbers. Now let ur is equal to rr, and we write dur as r plus r dr by dr, and d square u by dr square as how much? dr over dr plus dr over dr plus r d square r by dr square. This will result 2 dr by dr plus r d square r by dr square. Okay. Now let us call this equation number 2 and this as equation number 3. Now we use equation 2 and equation 3. Use equation 2 and equation 3 in equation 1. This would give us 1 by r d square u by dr square plus k square minus ll plus 1 by r square ur by r. This u is function of r. Or if I multiply it throughout by r, I will get d square u by dr square plus k square minus ll plus 1 by r square ur is equal to 0. Is it all right?
Yes, sir.
See, I am calling this as equation number 4. We have left 1 minute, therefore we have to log in again within a few seconds. Now for L equal to 0, I can write equation number 4 as d square u by dr square plus k square ur. This is equal to 0. Okay? And then we have to seek a solution which should vanish at r is equal to a. So therefore the solution which vanishes at r is equal to a is ur is equal to a sine k r minus. Okay? ur is equal to a sine k r minus a. This is the solution. As you put it back, you will get 0 on the right hand side. Therefore, this is a valid solution. And then the important point was that my solution had to vanish at r equal to a, and this will ensure that my solution would vanish at r equal to a. Therefore, this is a valid solution, but this is a solution only at L equal to r equal to a. We have or at L equal to 0. We have what we have to do. Ur is equal to a sine k r minus a. This is a possible solution for the differential equation that I wrote, and this ensures that at r equal to a, the wave function vanishes. Okay, but for a general value of L, I wrote on the last term the solution was kr aljlkr plus bl eta lkr. Okay. Now on the last turn, we argued that this guy, the Newman function, should vanish because Newman function blows up at r equal to 0. Now today we are talking about a sphere of radius a, and then that means we are unable to reach r equal to 0. That region is not penetrable. Therefore, today we have to stick with both the solutions, a spherical Bessel function as well as a spherical Newman function, and that is why I am writing the solution as a linear combination of ALJLKR plus BLJLKR. Why? The important point is that this solution also has to vanish at this solution has to vanish at r equal to a. That means UL r at equal to a, that should be equal to 0. Now you know that k cannot be 0. When r will be equal to a, this guy is not equal to 0. This implies that AL JL KA plus BL eta LKA must be equal to 0. Is it clear? That when I will put that ULR at R equal to A should vanish, this implies that this will be equal to 1 मिनट बस. हेलो, मैं क्लास ले रहा हूँ, क्लास के बाद में बात करूँ. Okay, therefore BALGLK plus BL eta LK, just I am writing it over here. This is KA, ALGL KA plus BL eta LK. This should be equal to 0. And since this guy cannot be equal to 0, because K and A both are finite quantities, okay, therefore this is 0, and when this is 0, this implies that BL eta LKA is equal to minus AL JLKA, and that would imply my BL upon AL is minus JLKA upon eta LK. And you see, a spherical Bessel function at a fixed value of R, this will be a constant quantity, this will be a constant quantity, and this I am calling by the name, minus sign I am retaining, and JLKA upon eta LKA, I am just calling it by the name tan delta L. Because we'll see that this spherical Bessel function and Newman function can be written in terms of sine and cosine. That is why I am writing this as tan delta. Okay. Let us call this as equation number 6. Therefore, we have to keep in mind that equation number 5 and equation number 6, they are important equation, and let us call this as equation number 6 and this as equation number 7, because I am going to put this value of, I will take AL outside in equation number 6. I will write it as KR AL JL KR plus BL upon AL eta LKR. Okay, and next step I will write KR AL JL KR minus BL upon AL is minus JL KA by eta LKA. Eta L. And just for the completeness sake, we have to recall that JLK by eta LK is tan delta L. Therefore, next step I can remove this and I can write tan delta L over here. Okay. Therefore, let us call this as equation number 8. Now, this equation number 8 and equation number 5, they would be very important to us. Okay. And I am changing the slide. Now, whatever we observe away from the scattering region, and away from the scattering region, I have always told you that we treat that distance to be infinity in comparison to the range of the potential. Here also you see up to R equal to A, the potential is infinite, but as soon as you get R greater than A, the potential becomes 0. Therefore, if I talk about JL rho, where rho is kr, for rho, if rho is becoming very large, on the last turn I wrote it as this is 1 by rho sine kr minus L pi by 2, and eta L rho, for rho going to infinity, this I wrote it as minus 1 by rho cos, I should write actually here kr itself, or rho is, I'm sorry for that, I should write here rho minus L pi by 2, and this is cos rho minus L pi by 2. But we have to just keep in mind my rho is kr. Okay. Now, if that means if we are in the asymptotic region, when my r is becoming very large, we have these two expressions, and we have to bother about the region when r becomes large, because first we assume that the interaction time is much smaller. Okay, the interaction time between the incident particle with the potential is much smaller. Okay, therefore the particles are coming, it is seeing the potential, the range of the potential is finite, and we are placing our detector at some distance, and that detector we may treat to be at infinity in comparison to the range of the potential. And if we do that, then I can write my UL as, see what was my UL? UL was KR AL JLKR minus JLKA by eta LKA eta LKR, and this I wrote it as KR AL JLKR minus tan delta L eta LKR. As you can make from here also, that JLK by eta LKA will be proportional to tan, and a quantity which will be a function of L. Okay. Now I will put the value of JL and eta L from the above equation. This will be equation number 8. This will be equal to KR. Okay.
Sir, equation 9.
This will be 9. Okay.
Yes, sir.
KR, AL, and JLKR is 1 over KR sine KR minus L pi by 2 minus tan delta L. And see here, cos is coming with a negative sign, therefore this will become plus tan delta L cos KR minus L pi. Okay. Now you can see that KR, and here also there should be KR, that is going to cancel out, and I can write tan delta L as sin delta L by cos delta L. Sin delta L by cos delta L. Then if I take the LCM, this will become cos delta L sin KR minus L pi by 2 plus sin delta L cos KR minus L pi by 2. And then AL by cos delta L, since this is function of L, this is function of L, I can call them by a new name. I am calling that as CL. Okay, CL is sin KR minus L pi by 2 cos delta L plus cos KR minus L pi by 2 sin delta. and this is nothing but sine A cos B plus cos A sine B, and that means I can write it as sine kr minus L pi by 2 plus sine kr minus L pi by 2 plus delta L. Okay, therefore let us call this as, I can write this as CL sine kr minus L pi by 2 plus delta. This is equation number 10. CL times sine kr minus L pi by 2 plus delta. This is my ULR. This is CL sine kr minus L pi by 2 plus delta. That means if I talk about L equal to 0, then UL equal to 0R will be C0 sine kr plus delta 0. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
And see, what was my UR? The solution which I told you will be a valid solution. Sine kr minus, sorry. This was sine
R minus C.
sine r k r minus a. That means this is kr minus k. Okay. Now if you compare these two, then what is delta 0?
Minus K.
Minus k. Okay. And then the important point which I had told you, that only at low energies we have the contribution from a few angular momentum states. Therefore, if we are talking about low energy scattering, where only a few angular momentum states contribute, and especially talk about very low energies, where only L equal to 0 angular momentum state contributes. Some state has significant contribution. Okay. Then recall the expression for the total scattering cross section which I wrote on the last turn. This was 4 pi by q square, L equal to 0 to infinity, 2L plus 1 sine square delta. Now we are talking about only L equal to contribution from L equal to 0 partial wave. This will be equal to 4 pi by k square sine square delta 0. Okay. And for a small, this value I can write simply as 4 pi by k square delta 0 square, and that means this will be equal to 4 pi by k square times a square. Just I am using this expression here. This will become equal to 4 pi times a square. Therefore, the important point is, if we consider the hardest sphere scattering, then the scattering cross section would turn out to be 4 pi times a square. Okay. Now one can do complicated mathematics to include all the higher partial waves and sum it over to include high energy scattering also, but that is not required here. We have to just apply that to the case where the energy is low, and we want to see that what happens when the incident particles energy is low and the scattering is taking place from a hard sphere. Okay. Now tomorrow, starting at 11, we will talk about the scattering from square well potential. That if the potential is of square well shape, then how much is the total scattering cross section? Okay, let's stop here. We shall start tomorrow.